Before I move on at all, before I say one single word about the fucking game, I just want to let you all know that I know. I see it up there. I wrote it. I'm the one who chose to title this that. Yes, I'm aware. So you don't need to ask me about it. You don't need to say one single thing. What you could do is just sit there and accept the change back. You could do that. That is an option here. But you know what? I know you people. And I know you want answers, and you always do. So allow me to explain very quickly. Over time, I, first of all, have missed the old name. Second of all, I have come to terms with the simple fact that I will never, ever be able to shake that moniker ever. It is not going to happen. It is the moniker I started out with. It is the moniker I developed a mildly small name on YouTube with. That is who I became. So, I can't just sit there and be like, I'm going to call myself something different, and expect everyone to agree with it, because it's not going to happen. You still call me Darkness. I know you do. I mean, some of you accepted the pretentious Mr. Sanity, and some of you, in fact most of you, are just okay with calling me Josh, which is who I am, so that makes sense. But everyone needs an alias, a moniker. So let's go back. Let's take a step back and start things off again, renewed. Old school style, I guess. That work? That work for everybody? You know, that works for me. Okay, let's get things on with it. So let's talk Disney. No, more specifically Disney games. See, back in the day, Disney had a seriously bad habit of trying to make a game out of basically every single one of their animated movies. Well, you know, to be fair, I should not call it a bad habit. Reason being that, quite frankly, Disney did a better job of making video games out of their movies than most people did. I shouldn't say Disney. Virgin Interactive were the ones behind a lot of the games. This one too, Jungle Book in particular. Now, I know what you're thinking, why on earth would you choose Jungle Book for the first one you reviewed, Darkness? I mean, come on, there are a lot of other bad Disney games you could bitch about. Well, Jungle Book, first of all, is a bit of a mixed bag, as you'll soon find out. Although, honestly, in terms of what these games should have been made to do, Jungle Book probably is the best one. Now, this game in particular was probably one of the main staples of my childhood. It was one of the first Sega Genesis games I played at any length, probably because I was 5. And as it turns out, it's a pretty competent platformer in its own right. You start things off and you're treated to a fairly decent title screen. You can look at the story stills if you want, but that's one thing that's kind of lacking. It's very vague. Usually it says something along the lines of, Mowgli is going this direction, or Mowgli met a bear. I mean, it doesn't literally say those things, but it's so bland and tasteless, it doesn't even attempt to really tell the story. It's basically just setting things up. You really have had to see the movie to really know what's going on. Although, quite frankly, the game does a very good job at following the movie. Most of the levels you recognize as major scenes from the film. So, even if you're not a little kid, any fan of the movie is probably going to be pleased with that. The first level has you running around killing enemies. Yes, killing enemies. Well, I guess you shouldn't say killing. It's a children's game, after all. You kill enemies by either A, jumping on them a few times, or B, throwing bananas at them. That's Mowgli's main weapon. He uses bananas as projectiles. You have an infinite supply of regular bananas, but you also have some special weapons. I'll get to those in a second. The main objective of every level is not as simple as you might think or want it to be. It's not just a situation of going from point A to point B. Oh no! That would be too simple. Instead, what Version opted to do is something I find incredibly infuriating. They decide to make you do a collectathon. For whatever twisted-ass reason, you have to run around every single stage, and I mean every stage, finding gems. When you find enough gems, you're able to complete the level. Why Mowgli has to find gems in order to complete the level, I will never understand. But that's what you have to do. I think the reason they did this, looking from a design standpoint now, is because every level is very, very short. Very, very small. I guess they were going for quality over length, but really, your trade-off is a collectathon? Come on, people. To be fair, I can't complain much, because quite frankly, the collectathon thing isn't as bad as you might think. You're not sifting through every nook and cranny trying to find these damn things, and there's a lot of them, and you don't even need to find them all. Most of them are on the main path, and they're pretty obvious they're there. Some are slightly hidden, but often when they're hidden behind any bushes, they're hidden behind bushes you'd be walking through anyway. So, they don't really make much of an effort to hide many of these. It just seems like busy work, but often if you know what you're doing and you look around, you'll be able to find enough gems by the time you reach the end of the level anyway. There are other collectibles besides the gems. The gems are obviously what you're looking for mainly. Everything else are either more weapons or fruit. Now, fruit. What does the fruit do? They do fucking nothing. Like, no, seriously. All they do is improve your score, because, you know, the game's totally gonna save that, and in that day and age, even then, you totally gave a shit about your fucking score, right? No, you didn't. I'm aware most old school platformers had a score system and random collectibles that don't really mean much of anything, but there's a lot of fucking fruit for some reason. Not that it really gets in your way, it's not a hindrance, it's just there, and it doesn't really need to be. The other ones are the weapons. Now, you have your basic bananas, like I said, you can't run out. In addition to them, you could also get double bananas, rocks you shoot from a blowgun, boomerangs, and bananas that for some reason make you invincible when you throw them. I don't quite understand those ones, but that's not really important. The only one among them that really bugs me is the double banana. Now, Mowgli, you have infinite regular bananas. Why can't you just throw 2 at a time? Need I remind you, once again, you have infinite. It doesn't make much sense. I know I'm nitpicking, but I like doing that. It's kinda my thing. Once you collect enough gems, all but 5 of them, that's always the case, by the way, you have to collect every single gem that isn't the last 5. I don't know why they did that. Maybe to make the game a little bit easier. I'm gonna assume on the hard difficulty, maybe you have to collect them all, but I'm playing the game on normal because I don't feel like doing that. So once you collect most of the gems, the game will tell you bluntly to find somebody, or go somewhere, or go fight a boss, whatever. The first level says, find Bagheera. This is most of the level's goal. Bagheera is sleeping somewhere, and you have to go find him. Once you stand next to him, the level ends. I still do not understand this gem thing. Why do you have to find so many gems before you can find Bagheera? Why can't you just end the level right there? It's just artificial padding to make the game longer. It's irritating and pointless, and I don't like it. Oh, and I forgot to mention, there's a time limit. You'll never notice it, though. There's only a handful of levels where the time limit really causes a major problem, but most of the time you'll never even notice it's there. You can often find enough gems and find where you're supposed to be going well before the time runs out, probably because the levels are so small. It renders the time limit pretty pointless. In fact, am I the only one, other than a plot point in which a bomb's going to explode or something like that, who finds any time limit on almost any level really stupid? Like, really pointless? Like, even in Sonic, when it time overed. Why? Why did it time over? Is that even necessary? Oh well. The second level has you in a giant tree. And I mean, this tree is god-forsakenly huge. I don't understand it. And this is where things start to get really weird, because for some reason you can teleport up and down this tree's trunk. I don't even remember how I managed to figure out you could do that when I was younger. I think I did it on accident once. I mean, it's pretty obvious the holes mean something, but it's so weird, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but, you know, whatever. I do like the sound it makes. Yeah. Anyway, this level also introduces my least favorite enemy type in the entire game, the fucking scorpions. Why do I hate the scorpions? Well, unless they're on a slope, you can't hit them with almost any projectile you have, which is already pretty baggy. The second thing is that since you obviously want to try to kill them by jumping on them, you will then realize that as you're jumping on them, often they'll try to hit you, and they time it so that they'll hit you right when you fall on them, so you'll instantly take a hit if you're trying to kill them that way. My strategy is to jump on them once, then wait for them to try to strike, and hit them again. Of course, they're often hiding in bushes, so I often run into them when I don't even know they're there, which I think is pretty lame. Other than that, though, once again, you have to run around collecting gems, and I will reiterate this a lot, but I'm gonna tell you now, it happens in every level. That's the goal. Collect enough gems to go to where you need to go. This level, you have to go fight Ka, the snake. You remember? The one that hypnotizes people? The python? Or was he a boa? I don't remember. Anyway, he's the first boss fight. He's pretty easy. You just have to make sure you're aiming for his head. You can't hit any other part of his body that isn't his head. You have to avoid his hypno beam out guess I'll call it that. I don't know what else you would call it. And if I call it Psybeam, I'll think I'm talking about a Pokemon game. But all you do is jump over it whenever it tries to hit you. It's very, very accurately homing, so you're gonna have to train yourself to know how to dodge it properly. You really have to lead it around in a circle until it eventually phases out. It's a little tricky at first, but once you know how, this boss fight is pretty easy, as often he'll stand still and let you smack him in the face repeatedly. And he goes down pretty fast, even with regular bananas. But I often save my special weapons for the boss fights, that way I end them more quickly. It makes a lot of the later bosses way easier. Third level is the Dawn Patrol. Again, we are following the movie fairly well. The elephants for the Dawn Patrol are actually in, and you can ride on top of them if you want. I don't know why you would ever do that, because most of the gems are in the trees above them. So my strategy with this level was actually climbing up immediately and jumping through the trees, often forgetting about the elephants entirely. I am well aware this defeats the purpose of the entire scene, but that's the game's fault, not mine. You are the ones who made me look for the fucking gems, so don't get on my case. Okay? It's very easy. You're not gonna run into too many issues here. It's a fairly easy level. On to the next one, level 4. The fourth level is the river. Once again, we are following the movie fairly well, and despite being one of the smaller levels, and really a level that all you do is run around, find gems, and go to where you need to go, again, I do have to applaud the art direction of this game. Despite being based off, you know, a movie called The Jungle Book, and itself being called The Jungle Book, it found a way to make a wide variety of different levels. Like, you're still in the jungle, yes, but they use a lot of blue here to give a cooler feel, and added some mist to make it seem more human. I know I'm noticing these petty details, you might think, but it's really a nice touch to know that they took some time to make the levels look distinct from one another. A lot of developers wouldn't have bothered, so I give them that. Again, the level's fairly straightforward, and you're gonna run into most of the other problems that the last level gave you because you're in the trees a lot, because that's where most of the gems are. You're seeing a pattern with these fucking gems. Once you collect enough of them, it'll tell you where to go. This time it says find Baloo. Once you find where he is, the boss music will start to play. When this first happened, I got freaked out. I thought I'm fighting Baloo. That seemed kind of strange. But no, what you have to do is wait for Baloo to come out of the bushes, and he'll keep throwing fruit to you. You know, those things that don't do anything but improve your score. Occasionally he'll throw an additional weapon, but this ultimately will go on indefinitely until you miss enough fruit for the platforms to fall, or you fall in yourself. And when I first fell in, I thought I died, and I got really pissed. But no, in order to end the sequence, you actually have to fall in the water, and then the level ends. Which is kind of funny, considering any other time you would fall in the water, you'd be dead and have to restart, or go back to a checkpoint. That's fairly inconsistent, but considering this is the only time this will happen, I guess I can let it slide. The fifth level is not just the river, no, it's Baloo and the river. The difference this time is while you're still on the river, you have the opportunity to ride on Baloo's belly like in the movie, and go down and collect various items and gems again as, you know, you float down the river. Now, your first instinct is to do this, but as it turns out, most of the gems are in the trees. And by most, I mean you'll never be able to get enough of them to complete the level while you're still on Baloo, and you have to go in the trees. So, my strategy is typically to just go in the goddamn trees before even going on Baloo, collect enough gems, because there's enough up there, and then go find Bagheera and then end the level. It's completely pointless to ride on Baloo unless you really want to. I don't know why they chose that design choice. You know, I'm kind of starting to feel like every single level in this game is stuck in this square box. It feels like they didn't take the time to make levels stretch out and expand further. No, they just made it go up and sideways the same distance, which makes levels feel very confined and very small. Every level feels like this, unfortunately, and I don't know why they didn't bother stretching them out. Can it be that difficult? And this is the one level where you'd think they'd do it because it's based off a key scene in the entire movie. The sixth level is called the Tree Village. Now, I know what you're thinking. Where the fuck was there a tree village in the Jungle Book? You know, I don't know. I don't think the developers knew. This is one of those levels that happens occasionally in movie games where they just add it to make the game feel longer. And to be fair, the game is already very short, so I kind of understand it. But it's a really weird-ass level. Instead of going up and down between the tree trunks like you did in the other tree-based level, you teleport between huts that are set on the branches, which makes even less sense. I don't really know what's going on. There are a lot of monkeys here, which I guess makes sense considering this is the part in the movie where Mowgli got kidnapped by monkeys, and you have to run around finding gems. This is one of the most confusing levels in the entire game, because every hut doesn't seem very consistent. It teleports you, not randomly, but to a place you wouldn't expect. Some huts go up, some huts go across. It's hard to understand unless you play the level yourself and map everything out mentally, or if you're really feeling daring just writing it down. Once you figure it out, though, the level won't take you very long, and then instead of finding Bagheera, it tells you to find the Witch Doctor. Wait. Monkeys and the Witch Doctor. Oh no. Okay, that's enough of that song. Thank you. One of the weirder bosses, it's not a witch doctor, it's 3 monkeys standing on top of one another with a giant mask in front. Oh my god. To be fair, the boss is a little bit creative. You can only hit them when the mask is open and they're throwing fruit at you. So you have to time your attacks pretty well, which is a nice thought. And then once you beat them, oh no, the boss fight isn't over. Then they'll magically teleport and be in 3 different places at once, which I think is pretty fucked up because now this is making no sense whatsoever. Not that this level made much sense to begin with. Here, there's a very specific strategy you probably should follow if you want to beat them easily. Don't end up on the left side of the screen like I did the first time, because I forgot about this because I hadn't played the game in years when I first recorded this footage. If you're on the left side of the screen, every single monkey is able to hit you, and it's really hard to hit them from the angles that you're at. If you end up on the right side of the screen, it's easy to hit the monkey in the square. Then the monkey in the middle is also fair game, and as it turns out, if you jump on the branch where the monkey in the square was and shoot at the monkey across from you, he actually can't hit you, but you can hit him, rendering the boss fight pretty easy. Level 7 is the ruins. Okay, now we're back on track. We're in the ruins, so I'll give the game that. That's good. I don't know why Tree Village was there, but we're back on track. The ruins, oddly, and I say oddly now because of what I'm about to show you. The ruins, oddly, is probably the easiest level in the entire game. It's really hard to die here, and it's really strange because there's a lot of collapsing sounds and a lot of things falling from the sky, so you'd think it'd be really hard, but no. All you do is run around. As long as you can avoid enemies and the occasional trap, you'll be able to collect gems and find Bagheera really fast. It's the next level that this doesn't prepare you for. Level 8, Collapsing Ruins. Okay, this is where the game basically tells you to fuck off. The entire level, other than the very end, is completely based on jumping from platform to platform, some of which are trapped with spikes, some of which will break if you jump on them. This level is ridiculous and was the bane of my existence when I was younger. It's such a pain in the ass! Even now I'm having trouble with it. Often when you fall, which you probably will more than once, there's actually a pretty good chance to catch yourself, but this is the level. This level, right here, is where that fucking time limit will totally screw you over. Even when I was recording this, I opted to just kill myself because I had so many lives, to just set the timer, because I knew it was getting too low and I'd never be able to beat the level otherwise, because I kept fucking falling. Oh, and make no mistake, you still have to collect those godforsaken gems in this level too. I didn't forget about that shit, no. Fortunately, in this level in particular, there aren't many side paths, so gems are basically on the main path, so it's not that big a deal, but still, it's irritating. It is this point that I will point out that the game actually does a very good job at reimagining many of the songs from the classic Jungle Book. You can recognize many of the songs from the movie in the game as level music, and it's actually done very well. Okay, so once you finally get to the top of this, and realize this is actually solid ground, thank God, you reach King Louie. King Louie's probably the most irritating boss in the entire game, only because he deflects your projectiles when he's spinning his arms around like that. So you have to wait for him to attack you in order to attack back. It's similar to the Witch Doctor, but way more irritating. Probably because King Louie's attacks are actually more lethal, and, well, will actually hit you more often. The dude also takes a ton of punishment. I'm willing to bet he actually takes more damage than the final boss. I've never tested that theory, but it feels like it. Although, now that I think about it, it probably only feels like that because the final boss, Shere Khan, oh, spoiler warning, you didn't see that coming, doesn't spend a lot of his time deflecting your shots. In fact, he never does that! King Louie does it all the fucking time, so King Louie just takes longer to beat in general. Once you finally bring him down, the entire ruins start collapsing on top of him, which is pretty dark now that I think about it, and Mowgli runs out and you move on to the next level. Jungle at Night. Alright, this level weirds me out for 2 reasons. Number 1, at this point in the movie, this didn't happen. Second of all, this actually did happen. You were in the jungle at night, except that happened in the beginning of the movie, as I recall. It's been a few years, maybe it happened later, but I think I remember Jungle Book well enough to know when the night scene happened. Honestly, there isn't much to complain about. It's a fairly standard level, if not for one thing, the music. And I know I've spent a lot of the time praising the game because it does a good job of rendering the Jungle Book music, but this level in particular doesn't have music from the Jungle Book. Oh no, at least I don't think it's from the Jungle Book. This level has original music, and it's really good. In fact, it's one of my favorite tunes from any Genesis game ever, right here. Just take a... See? It sounds really awesome, doesn't it? Who says the Genesis can't do good sound? Yeah, I know, it didn't have as good a sound card as the Super Nintendo, but come on! It can still produce some really nice tunes. This one is strangely off from the rest of the game, though. It sounds like something you'd play during an apocalyptic scene, not a night scene in the jungle. I mean, it works, but it's just haunting. Maybe that's why I like it so much, but who knows, enough about that. The goal in the level is once again to find Bagheera, you know, big goddamn surprise, and you move on to the final level, the Wastelands. Ooh. This level is not really hard, but it's just annoying. Not only is there fire everywhere, which hurts you because it is fire, but there is lightning constantly trying to kill you. This lightning in this particular level is, I believe, self-aware and malevolent towards Mowgli in every conceivable way. No, the lightning doesn't strike the trees, or the enemies in the trees, just you, and where you are standing at any given time, or hanging, or anything. That lightning wants you dead, and it will find you if you stop moving. That's the goal here. Never stop moving. The lightning is going to hit you otherwise. The only time, as long as you keep moving, the lightning has a chance of hitting you is if you're climbing straight up. And even that's not often enough to be a problem. It's just annoying because it's just constantly there, and it makes no frickin' sense. Other than that, the entire goal is to kill the enemies and find the gems again, and get the Shere Khan. Now, Shere Khan is a pretty intimidating looking boss, mainly because of the moving platforms, the fact that he can make the fire attack you by snatching his claws, which I don't fully understand. And if he roars at you, he produces a wave of sound, I guess? I don't know, it's kind of weird. He's surprisingly easy if you use your better weapons on him, because he stays in one spot, and as long as you keep your footing and don't fall into the fire pit below, you can constantly hit him in the face and bring him down pretty quickly. When you hit him with enough bananas, his tail catches on fire, because I guess getting bananas in your face translates to tail catching on fire. Whatever, it's going along with the movie, so I'll let it go. And then the game's over. No, seriously, that's it. You do get a fairly decent animation during the ending, and then you see Mowgli run through a level, which you aren't controlling him, to find the little girl in the village, and that's the end of the game. And then it challenges you to complete hard mode. Fantastic. No. So, all in all, was it a good game? Yeah, for the most part. It did its job. See, remember in the beginning when I said one of the reasons why I chose Jungle Book to review first is because in terms of Disney games back then, it does the best at doing the job that Disney games should be doing? What I meant by that was, it actually plays like a game that you'd let a little kid play. Like, a 4-year-old could beat this game. I should know. I did it at that age. It's not a hard game, and it shouldn't be. Most movies are made with a target audience in mind. Most Disney animated films' target audience are families and children. So in theory, any game you make based off of a Disney film should also be targeted for children as well, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, older gamers would probably have fun with this too if you're a big fan of Jungle Book, but don't expect to get a big challenge out of it. It's an easy game. The problem, I think, is that Jungle Book is a rare exception among the older Disney games. Many of them are hard beyond relative comprehension, and I would go into a rant about them, but I'll save those for later. Till next time, guys, this is Darkness wishing you a fond farewell.